Dan Celia. Well, do we have a deal potentially on the Fiscal Cliff? I know nobody wants to be working the day after Christmas or Christmas Eve, or everybody's ready to get out of town and on Capitol Hill. Do we have a deal? I guess we have a deal. At least that sure is what the news media would make it sound like. Frankly, I hope we don't have a deal. I hope this is not the deal that I've seen some detail on this morning I'm going to talk about. I hope that's not the deal that we could have, because it's not a deal at all other than a deal to go deeper in debt and to postpone the fiscal cliff till this time next year. But maybe to some, that's considered a deal. Right now, the stock futures look like, feel like, or are acting like we have a deal. Fiscal Cliff talks lift the U.S. stock market futures, according to the headlines. As you know, the Dow was up 100 points yesterday. The S&P was up 16. So we're seeing major moves in the market on the upside over the last 2 weeks. But do we have a deal? Well, European stock market is saying the same thing. As a result of some of the news media this morning talking about it looks like we're closer to a deal, European stock market is open. So there's an awful lot of people that think we have a deal, and they think, and let me just, first of all, let me just say this. If we have a deal, if this is the deal, you need to understand a couple of things. It is only a deal to kick the can down the road. We all get that, right? So you've been listening to this program for how long now? So if you've been listening for a while, you understand what the deal means. The deal means we have a deal to kick the can down the road. We don't have a deal if, in fact, this is the deal. We don't have a deal. We don't have a deal to lower the debt of the country. As a matter of fact, this deal does anything but that. It's a joke. This deal does anything but shore up the underlying fundamentals of the economy. It is a joke. It's not doing that. I said yesterday, anything less than a 2-for-1 deal is irresponsible. This is less than that. It's irresponsible. This is about trying to get some settlement done. And I said this before, and it was interesting because we're going to start hearing more about it. I said this a long time ago. You all know this. I said it again yesterday. The deal is going to be, let's go over the fiscal cliff. Congress goes home, or at least the House of Representatives goes home. Let's go over the cliff. If they go over the cliff, if they don't have a deal, January 1st, everything goes up. Taxes. Then they can honor their pledge to Grover Norquist, right? You heard me say this yesterday. Because now anything they do is in fact going to be booked as lowering taxes, right? Because taxes go up January 1st automatically. Nobody has to do anything. Anything they do after January 1st to strike a deal is lowering the taxes. I said 3 months ago, that was what's going to end up happening. Because what do you want on your record when you're thinking about re-election? I voted to lower taxes, not raise taxes. That's what's going to happen. I'm still standing by that. I said it yesterday, and I'm standing by it. And the Republicans no longer have to worry about meeting the pledge. Now, it's amazing, isn't it? This is a well, I don't want to say party because it's not just the Republicans, but politicians never worry about living up to a pledge. Remember the Pledge to America that Republicans put out in 2010? That was a joke. No detail. They don't worry about keeping pledges, but they do if it's a lobbyist. Oh, that's different. We're not talking about the American people here. It's different. We're talking about keeping a pledge to a lobbyist. That lobbyist has a number of special interest groups behind that lobbyist that all give to the campaigns. That's different. Don't go confusing keeping pledges to the American people with keeping the pledge to lobbyists and special interest groups. It's a whole different ballgame. So they obviously want to worry about keeping the pledge to the special interest group. It's kind of a no-brainer when you think of it politically. They're going to let it happen so that they can come and vote to decrease it. So Boehner lays out on his so-called fiscal crisis deal. Boehner lays out, listen, I'll come off the $1 million threshold and we'll lower that a little bit. I also said many weeks ago that if there's a deal, it's going to be $500,000. Looks like I was wrong on that because now Obama came back and said, no, I'm not going to do that, but I'll go to $400,000. So those families earning $400,000, we will raise the taxes to the highest bracket. Boehner offered $1 million. Now we're at $400,000. Maybe we'll get $500,000 or $600,000. 5 is what I said would end up happening, be the compromise, if there was a compromise. We still got capital gains tax dividend, 20%. Capital gains and dividend, 20% tax on that, going up 5% from 15%. No entitlement reform on the table to speak of. President Obama offered permanently extending the Bush tax credits cuts permanently for those below $400,000. I like that, but I don't like that it's $400,000. I think it should be back up to that $1 million. But nevertheless, I like the word permanent. I like that. So I think that's kind of good that they're willing to say the word permanent. The White House also offered a plan to cut spending, which, by the way, is a joke, but it includes $122 billion coming from adopting a new measure that slows growth of government benefits, especially Social Security. The White House is counting also $290 billion in saving from lower interest costs on a reduced national debt.